What is the purpose of prequels? Majority of the time people will usually say, well, it's just movie studios being money hungry and they're just trying to make another profit after the first successful film. While that is true, Hollywood is a business, but it is an opportunity for storytellers to expand upon the world that's already been created, and we as the fans are able to explore those unanswered questions, usually for better or for worse. But I don't think nobody was expecting a film like this. Pearl. The whale! Yes, in SpongeBob Mother of Pearl, we're finally getting answers to the origins of Mr. Krabs' daughter. Was she actually adopted? Did Mr. Krabs actually fuck a whale and then it just turns out that she just looked like the mom? Or did it actually turn out that Mr. Krabs is really Pearl's sugar daddy and that's why she's always calling him daddy and asking for money? Maybe that kind of actually explains a lot. Anyways, let's pop this sucker in. I want to know the truth. You didn't actually think that this was a real movie, right? Honestly, this is not the type of Pearl movie you were expecting, and also, we should probably get back to the real movie review. But I'm just saying, if this was actually a real movie, it would have kicked ass. Okay, I tried. I know it's cringy. Alright, shush. Let's get back to the real film. After the success of the first film, X, director Ti West has been working his ass off by not just releasing one, but 2 installments within the franchise. And now he's on his way for a 3rd installment, which we don't know for sure yet at the time of this recording. Now, is he actually working too fast to the point where he's gonna crash and burn? Maybe. Or maybe not. The film is a villainous origin story of Pearl, taking place in 1918, decades way before the events of X. As a young woman living in Texas with her disabled father and abusive mother, all she just wants to do is become a dancer and star in movies. But soon all the recessions, setbacks, and events all collide to spiral her down into this soon-to-be killer that she was in the original film. Like most horror sequels, they tend to stay within the same format of storytelling. But what Ti West was able to do in this film was a complete 180. While X was heavily influenced as a throwback to 1970s horror slashers, Pearl is similar in that aspect, but only as a subgenre. This film is mainly a psychological thriller, and that's what I like so much about it. It takes place within the same world, but it stands on its own respective genre. Like The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. I love those films, yet one's a serious film and the other one's a comedy, but it works. Alien is another great example, a contained suspense horror film, and then you just go all the fuck out in a non-stop action film in Aliens. This is something that I wish that Hollywood would do more often. If it's actually done right and it makes sense, of course. And here Pearl is actually taking influences from the 1930s and 40s style of cinema, with a dash of slasher. Basically, how can I put this? If The Wizard of Oz and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre were to sleep with one another, Pearl would be their baby. Times like this gives me that feel of what it must have felt like to watch those films in that era, but it also brings back fond memories of when I used to watch old films with my mom and grandma. Yes, I love older films as well. I'm just saying, without those old films, we wouldn't be able to have the modern day films we have today. Also, there's 2 people here that I gotta praise the most. Ti West and Mia Goth. What Ti West was able to do in this film was humanize a character that was originally introduced as a villain within the first film. Here, Pearl is actually growing up with a very strict and demanding mother, and we can see the stress and torture from her eyes. And we just want this character just to break free from that. And while Pearl's actions are malicious, we don't condone it, but the thing is, we do sympathize and understand why she does these things. The director is able to reel us in and make us root for this character to fulfill her goals, yet we're completely aware of what's to come of her in the next film. That's just pure poetic irony. And for Mia Goth's acting performance as Pearl, she plays it phenomenal. Even though she already portrays Maxine and older Pearl, both the protagonist and antagonist, it's her talented acting that distinguishes herself as a completely different character that you just forget the previous 2 performances in X. Without spoiling too much, there's this one scene in particular where the camera sits still and Pearl is sitting near the table and gives this 7 to 9 minute monologue about her relationship with her husband in one take. Now, coming from an actor like me, monologues are not easy. Not only do you have to convey so much emotion, get into rhythm, and memorize all your lines, you also have to be engaging with the audience enough to tell a story. And what she just delivered in that performance right there, not only did she just give the best performance in the series, she gave the best performance from an actress all year around. And for that, Mia Goth should be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress in a Leading Role. The only things that I can really say negative about this film is that both IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes do technically consider this film as a horror film, which I do not personally. Yes, there are really some good suspenseful moments, but there weren't any in particular where I would say like I wanted to look away, or I was frightened, or I was uncomfortable, because I really wasn't. And when it comes to psychological thrillers, I want to have this unsettling feeling that it'll get me thinking about it, like it's going deep in my mind, and I didn't really have any of that at all. And also, I was one of the 9 people in the theaters that did not fall asleep. I was actually looking around and I see some people snoring and stuff. Yes, this film is in fact a slow burner, and you just have to be patient with it, because within the first 20 minutes of the film, it's kind of like this character study film, and then it would later transition into this psychological slasher. My only last complaint about Pearl is that they didn't really touch on Pearl's husband within the film, because yet he's supposed to be one of the main antagonists in X. But the thing is, when he actually does show up in this movie, it's not really explored that much, so it does kind of get my head scratching a little bit, thinking that I actually want more answers. Although this film is not as good as X, I don't actually expect it to be, nor do I actually want it to be. Now, you may actually think that may sound crazy, but the truth is, I think that's actually how prequels should work. Because if you actually think about it, if you watch a film in chronological order, the films only just get better. So for that, I'm gonna have to give Pearl an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Look forward to more movie reviews to come along in the future. If you haven't already, subscribe here to the channel for more content. And until then, see you next time.